All right, we are back here with our next guest on our National Podcast Day. Someone who is amazing. I have loved listening to Wings of Inspired Business. The Melinda Wittstock is her show. This lady is a rock star. Absolutely amazing out there. I'm not just saying that. I truly mean that because I've been binging the episodes and doing a little bit of research. But you got your bio here for you. Melinda is a visionary entrepreneur, innovator, and founder, CEO of 4 scalable media tech businesses, and a passionate advocate for women in business. And I mean, this woman is passionate. I love it. She is the host of a daily podcast on female entrepreneurship called Wings of Inspired Business. Women innovating, networking, growing, scaling to help women manifest the confidence, connections, and capital they need to realize success in life and business. Her moonshot is to invest 10+ million in 100+ female-owned founded companies in the next 10 years and help catalyze the ecosystem where women support each other. And with 25 years experience as a host, journalist, and entrepreneurial executive across the world's top media brands and launching 4 of her own successful media tech, mobile apps, and predictive data analytics businesses. That's a tongueful. She brings deep cross-disciplinary expertise to grow every executive leader, innovator, brand, or business she works with across mindset, marketing, business development, product, and technology. So without further ado, the one, the only, the woman, the myth, the legend, Melinda Wittstock.
I love it. Thank you for that amazing introduction, Scott. And first off, thank you for doing this. What a marathon. And everything you've done to pull us all together on this incredible day. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Well, we're glad to have you here. I've seen some emails going back that you're kind of hanging at the pool a little earlier today, weren't you? Huh?
Well, a little bit. I'm in Montauk right now because I'm
Nice.
here at an event with a lot of other female entrepreneurs at an event called Female Equity. And we're all trying to figure out with each other how to disrupt venture capital funding for women, because women only get 3% of the funding, even when they have big moonshot, scalable companies that are disrupting whole industries. So we picked a nice location, blue sky, blue ocean, to come up with our masterminding. So it's nice to come to you from our beach house in Montauk. Yeah, very exciting weekend and so many interesting things that we can really do. And of course, my mission, as you said, is to lift women up, which is why I began the podcast.
Good stuff. What has been your biggest aha from doing your podcast? What's been the biggest? I know there's probably multiples, but you could pick one that stands out.
The biggest one is how many amazing people it's connected me to. I can't underestimate that. I mean, I started this because it was a mission and I thought, wow, women are succeeding in silence. I want to change that. A lot of people can't even name female entrepreneurs. Maybe they can think of Sarah Blakely from Spanx and that's about it, right? But women are doing these amazing things. So I thought, right, I want to just celebrate that and I want to change the game for women in business. And so I just started, but I underestimated how many amazing people, just even being part of this whole network and meeting you and meeting Steve Olsher and all the icons of influence at New Media Summit, but beyond. I mean, I'm here in Montauk at Female Equity in large measure because of the podcast, right? I'm in another group, Unicorn Club, that is working to really help women scale into the 7, 8, and 9 figures because of my podcast. I've gotten business because of my podcast. And people have gotten to know me. So it opens so many doors. When I go into a room and they've heard the podcast, they kind of know me and they know my character, they know my personality, they know my why. And so it's just been invaluable. That's
awesome. It is totally a networking community. I will tell you that. It's amazing. You never know who you're 6 degrees away from Kevin Bacon, right?
That's right. I think Jerry Seinfeld's down the street or something as well. So yeah.
Let's talk a little about your show, because you've been doing it for a while. It's an amazing show, amazing guests on there. What's been from the guests you've had? Have you taken a nugget to learn something from one of your guests that's really stood out?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, very quickly, the theme emerged that it's very difficult to succeed in business or have business growth without personal growth. And if you think you don't need personal growth, just become an entrepreneur. I mean, you'll be in therapy whether you want to or not. And I mean, not necessarily like hiring a therapist. I just mean that all the things that happen to you, all the things that are beyond your control are going to, all your limitations. I mean, you're going to be challenged with so many things. And so what's been curious about the podcast is really just the pattern recognition. When I interview women of success, I mean, they all have certain things in common. right? One of those things is like a real resilience, a really kind of a fly the plane as you build it mentality. If there's a wall, climb over it, go around it, go through it, go underneath it, like whatever you have to do, you have to find a way or make one. So everybody has that. Everybody also has asked for help, has learned to get really great mentors, really great coaches, invest in themselves. Even if it means investing in their health, like going to the spa. Like, I don't know, personally, I have my best ideas when I'm not working. And so what's actually happened is there is, from all the data, I guess, that I've gathered in the podcast, there is almost a blueprint or a roadmap for how one succeeds. And it's fascinating because that is the thing that will allow other women and men, because these rules aren't just limited to women. The women I have on have 6, 7, 8, 9, even 10-figure businesses. And all the things that they've discovered along the way and talk so openly about are things that men need to know too.
Mm-hmm. I would agree wholeheartedly. I think the most successful people are the most open people to sharing, and most approachable too, right?
I agree. Well, the whole process of entrepreneurship is so humbling. I mean, really, I think about all the times, I like to call it fail forward, right? Mm-hmm. I think of all the times, because it's like a scientist, you know, you go into a lab and it's like you have a hypothesis and you keep testing until the eureka moment. And entrepreneurship is very similar. And you never really know what's going to work. There's so many things, again, beyond your control, like the timing of an idea, right? You may be too early, you may be too late. How you differentiate from your competitors, how close you can get to your customers as early as possible. There's a saying that if you're not embarrassed when you launch a product, you've launched too late.
That's so true. Delivered is better than perfect. That's why Apple has 14 versions of their software.
Exactly. Right? No, it's really true. And I mean, that's one of the things that women tend to be perfectionists. And I think like you can see it in school, even with little girls where they're making their handwriting look pretty. You can't do that as an entrepreneur. You have to get messy.
You know, I had one of my good friends, I don't know if it was Sharon Lecter or my buddy Greg Reid who made the campaign. It's really hard to take a step backward when you fall on your face.
Well, yeah, but I love that. I think the reason that we're so humble about it is because we know all those times where, you know, we sweated to make payroll, or like the technology, it was launch day came and the technology wasn't working, or someone stole from the company, or like, I don't know, like God knows, there's so many things. I could go on for a long time about all my kind of quote unquote failures. They've actually been learning moments, and a really smart entrepreneur is going to learn from those moments and not make the same mistake twice. Make different ones perhaps, but then you think, oh God, can I shortcut someone else's time? Can I save them the hassle of having to learn this, like reinvent the wheel? If I've learned it, why not pay it forward and help them up?
Yeah, that's a great tip there. Totally important. I couldn't agree more with that. That's the things that we try to look at, especially when we're working with entrepreneurs or in real estate, stuff like that. Hey, let's get going. Let's try to help you avoid those mistakes. Let's help you go from 6 years to 6 months or 6 weeks or 6 days.
Exactly.
Right?
Yes, it's so true.
Now, with you working with so many women entrepreneurs, are you still seeing that proverbial glass ceiling out there? Are you still seeing things? You talked about only 3% of the venture capital going out to women entrepreneurs out there. How are you seeing that? In what areas are you seeing that? And how are you helping people break through that?
Well, it's so interesting, actually, with that particular stat. We brainstormed here. There was some research done by the Harvard Business School. They listened in on countless VC pitch meetings when women pitched VCs and men pitched VCs. And here's what they found. There was a question bias. Men were asked promotion questions like, how are you going to scale? You know, how are you going to do this? How are you going to grow? Women were asked what was termed preventative questions. What makes you think you're the person to do this? Why won't somebody else do that? I mean, and they were all questions that got women immediately on the defensive, right? And so like just things like that have to change. And it's often an unconscious bias. Mm-hmm. And so we actually spent a little bit of time figuring out how to turn the table on those questions. Right? So to some degree, to solve the problem, you know, we have to fit into an existing structure that wasn't really meant for us. And in another way, we really don't fit the pattern at all. So we have to disrupt that whole VC industry. And already that's happening with things like crowdfunding. So we sat around today and we thought, oh, can we crowdfund our own fund? right? To invest in women. What can we do with family offices, for instance, which invest a lot in women? How can we put pressure on the pension funds and the insurance companies that fund the VCs? Mm-hmm. And moreover, what are the internal, like the blocks within ourselves where we unintentionally or unconsciously limit ourselves? Where as women, sometimes we don't go for a big number, like we'll ask for $1 million when really we should have asked for 5, because we get so proud of how efficient we are. but you really do need, if you're going to play at that, you need money to be able to accelerate and grab a market fast. So you've got to be, you've got to be fairly, you got to be aggressive about that. So there's a whole bunch of internal and external things to change. But some of the other markers around this that are really interesting, though, too, is only 3% of women business owners make it to $1 million or more. Only 3%. So that number has to change. That's the pipeline into being able to qualify for VC funding and have these big moonshots and scalable companies that change the world, right? All that stuff that we want to do. So what's up with that? And a lot of the times it's women go into business because they do something really well. So they create a business around their superpower or their skill. And they do it, but they're acting as doers and not as owners. And so how to change the mindset around that: hire quickly, ask for help. And this is the big one. Don't confuse having it all with doing it all. Hire people for that, right? Think like an owner. And so there's a lot of work that we're doing around that, and particularly with Wings and Wings of Success and other organizations to get women to think more about leverage.
Yeah, leverage is important, and putting other people to work. I think a lot of entrepreneurs struggle with it, but I know women struggle with that. I got to do it all myself. You're not going to do it as good as I could do it, so I'm going to go ahead and do it anyway, right? And you said it beforehand, getting it delivered versus being perfect, or putting the perfectionist aside if we can, right?
Oh, God, I've struggled with this. There should be an AA for perfectionists, right? It's really true, because we think, oh, God, I'll just do it myself. Because it takes a lot of time, actually, to train a team. And it's a real skill to team build and create a good corporate culture where you lay the foundation, you hire the right people, make sure they're in the right seats, and then get the hell out of their way. Because if you're micromanaging them, you're not going to get the best, and you're not going to get A players either, by the way. So that's a whole other skill set for how you really encourage your team to really show up and be great. But you got to let them fail. You got to be willing to let go. You can't punish them for failing. You actually should punish them. Actually, you should celebrate them for failing, because they're learning. As long as, you're aligned in mission, you're all going in the same direction, everyone's going to pull together.
Mm-hmm. It's important to set the barriers on there, giving them a dollar amount to mess up with. Hey, you make a decision up to $200 initially, not a big deal. Or setting those stages to help them grow. Because I think a lot of people, when they come out of a traditional job, they're told, here, you do this, you do this, you do this. And as an entrepreneur, you can do all of it, or trying to figure out all of it and trying to put the right people in the right jobs, and getting people to be able to mold into that round hole, right? Oblong, maybe not round, but oval aspect of it change things up, right?
Exactly. It's really a mindset shift to think about the solutions, not just going and doing work, but creating outcomes. And it requires, and not everybody is an entrepreneur, but I think in our society right now, it really pays to think entrepreneurially, even as an employee, because companies are demanding that, and more American. I think the stat is that 50% of American workers are going to be gig workers by 2020. That's like a year and a bit away. And by gig worker, I mean really going from project to project with no job security. So you have to be good at advocating for yourself. You have to be good at figuring out what the problem is, right, as entrepreneurs do, and coming up with a creative solution to solve that problem. So everybody has to be more entrepreneurial.
Mm-hmm. Are you seeing that more so with the clients that you're helping? Are they doing more with podcasts or getting their message out? What's some of the best ways you would recommend for women entrepreneurs to get the word out what they're doing to help them grow their audience, to help grow their tribe, to grow their following?
Oh, gosh. There's so much data that shows that entrepreneurs, whether they're men or women, if they grow their thought leadership and their influence on social media by writing books, getting publicity, and doing podcasting, their companies are much more likely to grow, especially if that mission or if that influence is articulated around like a mission that other people can join, right? So becoming a thought leader and an influencer is an absolute vital part for any CEO or founding team. Like without it, who knows you? Why would they come work for you? How are you going to get the best talent? Your customers need to fall in love too with the mission. They want to be part of a movement. They want to be part now of something that's bigger than themselves, bigger than the transaction, more of a transformation. So when you're out there with a podcast, and Scott, I know you know this too, and people get to know you, they want to do business with you because they know, like, and trust you. Business is about relationship. And so this is one of the reasons why I love podcasting, because it's a very intimate medium. It's conversational. So you get to know the person. You can't really hide. Like I'm sitting here and I didn't brush my hair. I'm sitting in this kind of like, I don't know, bungalow that I was supposed to have checked out from like an hour ago. And they're doing me a favor here for the, for the live stream. Right. But you know, you have to show up in a really authentic way on a podcast. Otherwise your podcast isn't going to succeed. So to some degree, a lot of founders and CEOs and business people would be out of their comfort zone a little bit doing this. But, you know, it's amazing. Just go on podcasts and be a guest on podcasts, you know, get used to that, you know, write a book, like, I don't know, just really be diligent on social media, whatever it is you have to do. It's absolutely vital to your success.
Mm-hmm. And it's gotten a lot easier to do that over the years than what it used to be. It's so much, the barrier to entry is so much lower, but I think it's the unknown, it's that fear of the unknown that stops a lot of people from doing. So what advice, besides just telling people just get out and start doing it, start creating their tribe, just get out and start taking action, is what you're recommending?
Yeah, that's really important. But to do so, the caveat, I guess, is to do so in alignment with what your true purpose and passion is and your true talents. But purpose and passion, like in our earth suits, here we are on Earth. What are we put here to do, right? And getting in touch with that, and that can be a journey. That can be hard for people, but honestly, when you're in that alignment, when you're doing something that you're truly meant to be, things just flow much more easily. Like there's a providence about it. The right people tend to show up. You tend to just there's so much more joy. Like if you love what you're doing, all kinds of great stuff is going to happen. So I think that's very, very important, you know, to make sure that, you're aligned with that mission, power, purpose, or whatever. And then magic happens. The other thing too, though, is working on your mindset, like really working to get rid of any kind of limiting beliefs or anything like that you may have. We all have them. And asking for help, getting great coaches and mentors, investing in yourself. It comes back in multiples.
Amen to that. Getting rid of that negative self-talk is one of the biggest things, because you are your biggest fan. You are your biggest motivator. And if you've got that negative voice in your head, it's going to stop you from getting out of those bad days, but also limit your good days as well. True, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Gosh, it's
What's
so
the
true.
best way for people to get a hold of you, Melinda?
Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, definitely check out my podcast, Wings of Inspired Business. And if you're on iTunes, there's a shortcut. You could just go to wingspodcast.com/iTunes, but it's Wings of Inspired Business wherever podcasts are found. I'd love it if you just listen, subscribe, download, review. I love feedback. And then also, if you're a woman entrepreneur and you really want to like either take the leap into entrepreneurship or figure out how to grow your business, get to that $1 million mark, go to wingssummit.com, because at wingssummit.com, you can get access to 60 women I've brought together, all with 6, 7, 8, and 9-figure businesses, and in 2 unicorns, $1 billion 10-figure businesses, all paying it forward with lessons, video lessons across mindset, mojo, money, everything you need to know, from personal finance to how to raise venture capital if you're there, to how to do a personal brand, how to sell, how to find your clients, all manner of stuff. And it's free. And when you sign up for it, you also get the Wings of Success Manifesto and Success Formula. So I hope you'll check me out there. Do that for sure. And then I'm I'm all over the place on social media. So Melinda Wittstock 2020 on Instagram, Melinda Wings on Twitter, Wings Podcast on Facebook, and also I am Melinda Wittstock on Facebook.
Awesome. Great stuff out there for you. Check her out, everybody. Listen to the show. You're going to love it like I do, like a lot of people do, a lot of ladies do, a lot of women out there making things happen because of what you're sharing on there on a daily basis. Melinda, thank you so much for being a part of
thank you. Thank you, Scott, for organizing this and putting all of this together. What an amazing lineup. Everyone's podcast on this, including yours, my friend, is amazing and inspiring and so, so helpful. Yeah,
everybody's great out there. Well, hey, get back to the pool. Get out of that hotel room before they get you out of there. Have some fun, all right?
Okay, I'm going to do that. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, everybody, we're going to take a short little, about an 18-minute break while I reset some things here before I bring our next podcaster on. The SOB, the Spunky Old Bra, Dr. Gil Carson will be our first guest in roughly about 18 minutes. We'll be back in after a short break.